In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we discuss the issues that are taking place here in America and how we can best get those solved. Today, my name is Charles King, and I am your host. I am also the person that decided that we have a platform where we like to get information out to the public and for people to not just see the things that are taking place, but we want to help you guys to be that much more informed as to the things that are taking place. Right now, our country finds itself in a very difficult state right now. There's a lot of chaos and disorder. There are lots of things that are taking place, but in the process of these things taking place, it's like people really, the majority of the folks that's here in the country are not knowing exactly what's happening, what is going to happen, why these things are happening, and what they should do. Now, what I will say to each and every last one of you is that I can honestly say unequivocally, without being a military veteran, with being a military veteran, I will tell you that for me, I'm instantly thinking more so now at this point of going into survival mode. And when I say going into survival mode, that means that, things that are going to be much beneficial for me, my family, the people that I love, and those that do have a care and concern as to how things may transpire here over these next 4 years, is going to be, it's just going to be very impactful. And so with that being said, I'm saying that because, we don't know, if it's going to get to the point that each and every individual will be able to survive when it comes to a roof over their head, being able to provide food for family. Will people still have jobs? Those that have that are living off pensions for where they've worked for over 30, 40 years that they've been receiving. They don't even know if those are going to be coming. If you're a veteran and you are receiving benefits from the Veterans Administration, whether it's compensation or health care, you don't know how that's even going to work. And for those that are not a part of that, a part of those fibers of America, I mean, hey, there's just some things that you just don't know. You don't know what's going to be the true ins and outs. Well, here at America in Black and White, we're here to unify. And in unifying, our target audience are those that are underserved and marginalized. That's our target. And so we plan to solely connect communities, grow communities as best as possible. And there's nothing that's going to prevent us from doing that because that's already starting. So As we get into this show tonight, where we're going to be talking about the state of America, I really just advise that each and every individual, please take the time, sit down, listen. You know, you can gather all of your thoughts and you can make your own, you can have your own opinions as to how you feel about this when the show is over, and you can just say, hey, either you're going to do something better, you're going to contribute to make things better, or you're going to do things that are going to contribute to your survival, or you're going to continue to go down this road of nothing but destruction. Let me just start out with this, because this is the first thing, and this is first and foremost. Here in America, where we are supposedly a free society, what most people don't understand is that the American government in its founding has always been a socialist government. It's always been a socialist government. Just the thing is, things that have been implemented over a period of time, there's some that say, no, that's not the case. Well, it's been a socialist government that's actually has had an enormous amount of conservative principles in its factions, but it's always been about the people. So when I say it's all about the people, now we know from historical context, which we don't want to really get into historical contexts, but just giving you a brief synopsis of a historical content that's going to keep us present, because it's now the present day that's important. I love to stay here in the present. But what I also like to do is I like to understand from a foundational standpoint how we get to where we are now. Well, so we know from the beginning, America was founded on thievery. Yeah, you had those that defected from Europe. They come across to the New World, and they get here and they say that they found new land. Well, from historical context, especially from educational textbooks, it'll tell us that America was discovered by Christopher Columbus, and that there were Indians here and all of this other good stuff. Well, we all should know that because we all had civics when we were in, but from elementary school to high school, we had civics there. And it taught us some things from a foundational perspective about American history. Well, so just to cut through that, supposedly America was founded by Christopher Columbus. So as Christopher Columbus discovers America, there are Indians here. So with the Indians, however he does it, communicates and gets word back to those that wanted to come to this new land that he has founded. So as they get here, they want to befriend, supposedly, quote unquote, the natives that are here already. So as they befriend these natives, it also gets to the point that they decide that they want to take this land for themselves. So now it's that they do things to backstab and to kill the folk that were here already. Now, this is the story that's being told, but factually, that is not correct at all. So, at any rate, as we get to this point, and we get further along, and now we get to where there are people that have been kidnapped from the largest continent in the world, Africa, and brought here to be slaves. Now, the story goes is that these people were a bunch of savages, didn't know how to live, didn't know what was going on, but they needed to be civilized by the oppressors. So they needed to come here and they needed to work for free because these people did not want to do the work. They just wanted the labor for free where they could benefit and they could do everything they needed to do. So as we fast forward further through this, what's happening is when they kidnap these families that come from Africa, they decided that what they would do is they would humiliate these families and the men that were here with their wives and children. They would humiliate them by raping them, making them feel as less as possible as a man, and telling them that they needed them if they wanted to survive, and they better do what they are told to do, or else they are going to die. So now you're separating families. You have the woman here, you got the man here, you got the child all over the place. So now children are going everywhere, and everything is what it's supposed to be. So now you get to this point now where nobody's thinking that there's going to be an evolution in time, and as time progresses, that things are going to change. Nobody thought about that apparently, because, well, as we fast forward and we get into these different centuries, as we come into the 19th century, things are really looking, really positive and prosperous for the world. America is, taking state by state by state by state. They're giving them these names, and everything is just flourishing. Now, outside of the 13 colonies, as these states starts to get here, now it's like these deals are being made with all these other European countries that have taken parts of America. So now as America is getting to be what it's going to be, it is now all of a sudden it's purchasing from these other European settlers or colonizers, and they're owning all of this, and it's now becoming one big country. Now, the thing is in the founding is that America was not supposed to ever fall underneath what would be a kingship, because that's not what was supposed to happen, because this is what they were getting away from when they came here. So now that we've gotten to that point, things are going, Africans are still not allowed at this point to be educated. They're not supposed to know anything, because it's already figured that the more they learn, probably the better they're going to be. So now let's fast forward. We're going to jump into the 20th century. By this time now, the 20th century, there's still major repression, but the repression is not called that. It's called Jim Crow, and it's real serious racism. And so what this is saying is that now we still have colonizers that are not doing colonization, but they're doing things from the smoke signals that are being sent in the air that only they can understand as to why they must maintain power and control. So as we get to this point now, you got the black folk, the African, whatever you want to call them. They're now not only starting to have jobs, because there's starting to be some progression as to education, getting a little money to survive for families. They're buying houses, not as many, but they're buying houses. And you got folk that have gotten some land in various parts of this country where they actually were able to put together what they realized would be their own wealth. So now you have the folk that's not happy about that because they wanted the land. So now it's like to go and just start burning down people's land and killing people and taking their land. But of course, this is most popular about in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because that was a whole city. And there's several Tulsa, Oklahomas around this country historically. So now as we get to this point, the advancement of the Black folks, the Africans, whatever you want to call them, is taking on a whole new meaning, because now the wealth gap is starting to get a whole lot better. I mean, the gap is closing. It's still very large, but from a foundational perspective, Africans still do not understand what it is to have a legacy, to leave money for kids, grandkids, and so forth. So as we get to that point, the story goes, as we're now here in the 21st century, the wealth gap is still large, it's still huge, but it's still causing a problem. So now as we fast forward to the 2024 presidential election, we have the occupier of 2016 running again, but this time he's running against Kamala Harris. And so the thing that's so crazy about that is that you had an enormous amount of people that were still running around and they were stating the fact that, one, she was running a policy of Joe Biden and not separating herself. At least that's what the media was leading people to believe, and that she had no plan. That is according to the occupier, who is a felon 96 times over. Now, this is a felon that's being allowed to run for president, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. But according to the Supreme Court, they were able to make this exception for this felon. I mean, rapists, he done con people out of money. There's all kind of fake organizations. I mean, just totally misusing the system. Totally. So we get to this point to where he's running against Kamala Harris, and he makes this statement, and he let it be known that when he runs for president, he is going to shut down the border. He's going to make healthcare better, which means that for the low rates people are already paying for the Affordable Health Care Act, unless you're in one of those several states that they call red states that were not in the exchange to make rates lower for their people, they were going to change that, cut that off. He says they're going to cut off Medicare, Medicaid. He says they're going to privatize Social Security. And he also says that they're going to reduce the workforce in the federal government because it's too big, and all of these things that are happening, we've got to trim this because it's fat. Now, think about this. Unless you've had civics and knowing that as times evolves, the workforce is going to get larger regardless of the case. People are going to be advancing. Technology now is becoming a major thing now here in the 21st century. Why are we thinking of limiting what other people can do, but we want to make all of this all accessible for those that's in the top 1%? Now, when you think about that, now I'm gonna say this to a lot of people, to those that want to listen and those that don't. But you need to be able to rationalize this, is that those of you that went to the polls and you voted for this guy, you got what you wanted. You got what you wanted. So that has to be respected. Just the problem is everybody else is going to have to suffer the consequences because of what you did. But you are, as you're looking at this show and you look at yourself in the mirror, can you honestly say to yourself that this is what you wanted to do and this is what you wanted to happen? Unequivocally, I know that answer is no. But unless you run around here with one of those egos that's as big as the world, you'll never say that. But what you're finding out is that the majority of you that are now crying and complaining are the ones that voted for this. And when I say you voted for this, let's just start talking about those facts. The first thing is, you guys said that you wanted this man to be president because you wanted him to make America great again, when America has always been America, regardless of the case. What that was just a code word for what most of you were thinking were going to be strictly repressions and make things worse for those that were Black. Code words for race is what that was. And so what was supposed to happen is that the Black people were supposed to suffer. Now, the Black people are the ones that are being attacked from all these different sides, all these different minority groups. Everybody is hating Black people. That includes white folk. And so that is, for those of you, the white women that voted for Trump, you got what you wanted, which means also he is taking away DEI, which benefited you. But to mention DEI, everybody has this picture that has been posted in the media for over years that DEI benefits Black people, and that's not true. DEI only benefited the white woman. So now, not only has she lost that leg up, but now she can't have an abortion, which white women have more abortions than Black women. But let it be known and let it be said that Black women are having abortions at an alarming rate. Not true. Not true. Now, the premise of this whole thing is to just let it be known that now those folk that voted for Donald Trump are having buyer's remorse. But what you have to remember is that having buyer's remorse gets nothing, gets us nowhere. And we're still in the same place because you can't take that back. So why not be grown men and grown women and stand up to the fact and let it be known that you made that mistake? We know that's not going to happen because there are people that look just like me that also thought that same thing, that they voted for Donald Trump. But what they fail to realize is that when this man has made it clear that those that are in the top 1%, now he's never been there. He's never been there, mind you. But let these other folk in the media put it out there that he was a millionaire until all of a sudden they had no choice but to tell the truth. This man is not a good businessman. He's been bankrupt in businesses 6 different times. But yet and still was still having access to millions of dollars in capital to continuously misuse the system. Deutsche Bank. They were his funder. These are facts. Ain't no lies. These are facts. They were his financier, giving him all of this money to continuously to go out and misuse the system, to go out and try to abuse power, but also to create different parts, different factions of what is unraveling society today. But when we talk about regulations and when we talk about what's lawful, the law, the Department of Justice did not do its job that it was supposed to do in order to take care of that situation with Deutsche Bank. They didn't handle that situation. What they did is they allowed them to continue to go out in free reins and give them more of our free tax dollars here in America to benefit that situation. Now, when we talk about buyer's remorse, what the remorse is that it's those white people that voted for Donald Trump that are feeling more of the crunch than anybody else, because that Medicare, Medicaid, and the welfare programs, they were the most benefactors. They were the most benefactors. So if they're the most benefactors, how dare you come back and complain and cry now because you voted for this? You can't complain. This is what you wanted. Now, unless you want to tell everybody I was just so stupid and so dumb and so uninformed that I just wanted to give my vote to somebody that looked like me, because that's the way, tribalism is in America. You vote for the person that looks like you, regardless of the case. Unless you are a rational individual that decides that I want to vote for what's going to benefit me. I don't know no person, middle class or lower, that can say that the things that this man was talking about was going to benefit them. Now, so just so we understand also, where we clarify what's middle class and what's the top 1%, you got these folks that are making, let's go from entertainment to athletes. They are having these illustrious contracts, right? These contracts that are valued at $300, $400, $500 million. They're not rich. That's only on the top side of middle class. On the top side, which is being destroyed right now today. So you got the haves and you got the have-nots. So those that are making these nice little contracts here from entertainment, no, you're not rich, because you can count those dollars. Unless you see something that says B for billionaire, now you're talking about something totally different, because these are the folk that are actually controlling the government right now. These are the people that are controlling the government right now. Those folk that are in the House and the Senate that's on the Republican side, those are the people that are bought. Those are the people that are in the pockets of those billionaires that are there to strictly control their interests. If this is what they want, this is what they write in legislation, this is what they pass. Now, I want you to come on and think about this, Mr. and Mrs. Athlete, Mr. and Mrs. Entertainer. If you're not talking about billionaire, you're just like everybody else. You're just like everybody else. You are the reason why our kids are corrupt to this day, by listening to the foolishness that you guys are doing instead of actually coming back to communities and building communities. There's only a handful of folk that can honestly say that that's in entertainment, that they actually go back into a community and they do what's necessary for the place in which they grew up. Only a handful. Now I want you to think about that. Handful compared to thousands. That's less than 1% that contribute to their communities. Less than 1%. Now, those that look at this show, they look at this show because they know that this is all about the authenticity and the realness about what is happening today in life. And I'm saying that to say, because you have a lot of folk that will still run around and they do the character assassinations and the mischaracterizations, and they say that this is all about racism. It's not all about racism, even though there's a major contributing factor from racism, but that's not what this is about. This is about me educating the public and my communities and letting them know what's good and what's not good. Everybody can benefit from this, but I am particularly targeting my communities. Particularly, yes, I am. Because if nobody else does this and everybody that's trying to do something to help to benefit these communities, then we're all going to perish. But that's not what we're trying to do. No, nobody's sitting here talking about, oh, we're going to fearmonger and scare people. This ain't about scaring people, because I can tell you this is not about scare tactics. This is real. This is real. My only thing is I want people to realize that when you make the mistakes that you made because you was misinformed, and being misinformed has got all of us on a hair trigger, scared and nervous, and not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow. Nobody knows. Now, see, let's talk about, some of these things that are happening. So let's go and let's just talk about, we're going to talk about the stock market. Okay, now everybody knows what's happening in the stock market now. Okay, we're here in the month of March. This guy just took over in the office. Well, I'm sorry, not the guy that they voted for, but Elon Musk actually walked into the White House on the 20th of January. He's been there now, not quite 2 months, right? Let's see, January, let's see. You got February 20th, then you got March 20th coming up. So it's not March 20th yet. So it has not been quite 2 months yet. But in 2 months, the stock market is like totally volatile. Totally. So let me just read this to you, and then I want to explain it to you. The stock market has been highly volatile with significant drops in major indexes. President Trump's trade policies, including tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, have contributed to this instability. The uncertainty surrounding these policies has led to decreased investors' confidence and fears of a potential recession. You heard the word correctly, recession. Now, when Joe Biden was president and they come on with these lies telling folk that, oh, him and Kamala Harris have done all these bad things. Now, but let me just clarify something also. I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I don't support either of those parties because those parties are not beneficial to me. They're not beneficial to me. They do not one thing to contribute to the positive growth that I have to this day and the things that I like to do. If anything, they're going to try to take away those things that I like to do. So at any rate, when we talk about this stock market, people got 401ks. They've got mutual funds, things of this nature that they have from their employment matching programs. All of those are volatile right now. They're all at a point to which they all are suffering, losing money, and they're losing so much money until it's not funny. Now, I want you, just so you know this, talking about these tariffs has caused, Elon Musk has lost over $145 billion. Jeff Bezos has lost more than $10 billion. That's right. With the B. With the B. Those people are not happy. But they're not happy because, again, not knowing the functionalities of government is causing this problem. But, again, I want to know, for those of you that are out here watching this, I'm asking you because I really want to get that feedback. I need somebody to tell me, what is it that you think? What makes you think? One, either if you agree with what's happening with what they're doing with this market, what makes you think that in the beginning that they were the best people to run this country? And if you didn't think they were the best people to run this country, what are some of the things that you think that the American people need to start to do right now at this point? Because I can tell you this. I've learned one thing. I know when the writing is on the wall, when things are not right, and when things are about to look ugly. And I can tell you what has enhanced that was my military experience, because you're always taught to know about to fear the unknown, but you also got to know how to respond against the unknown. That's called survival. Now, I don't have to be the richest person in the world, but I can guarantee you and anybody else that's listening to this show that I will survive. Oh, I will survive. I'll survive. So it's just now the matter of what about how we help all of our other people that are out there? How do we teach them the real survival techniques of what they need to do in order to get to that place if it gets to that point? Now, I can say that there are some judges that are standing fast at some of the things that have transpired. They're standing fast and they're holding on as best as they can. Now, I will say this, and this is like probably the worst thing that I could possibly say, is that I pray and hope that they can hold them off to the midterm elections, because maybe the Democrats can get in there and they can change some things and they can prevent these folks from actually running around ramshot over the government and just totally taking it over. Because if there's no democracy, that's going to leave a lot of us more than just broken. That's going to leave people out there to fend and do what they do. And I doubt very seriously if most people will understand and know how to function in that kind of system. They're creating chaos and disorder intentionally, pitting people against people, and letting it be known that this is just what it is and this is what the people asked for. Well, I doubt very seriously people ask that you go and you throw out tariffs. Now, tariffs is something that they did way back in the 18th, 19th century. The last time the occupier was in the White House in 2016, he tried to do that same thing, but it was not nearly as rough as it is now. So now you're talking about causing issues with Canada, with Mexico, with China. Why are you picking these countries? Well, so let me just tell you this, American people. Those of you that are sitting here, let me just tell you what you need to start looking at. There's a new currency that's being created that's actually a unification of 5 different countries led by China, which is going to be the new world leader with the pace that we're on right now. And I can tell you right now, the unification of those five nations, they are definitely going to, their goal is to not use this, whatever they call this here in America. They're not even thinking about this. They're doing this outside of it. And what's happening is that the traction has already started and is gaining and is gaining and it's gaining. The dollar is getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. It's been weak, but I mean, it's really weak right now. And to go and say, you're going to put tariffs on Canada. Let's just go with Canada first. The Canadians are going to show you that, one, they're a free nation without the U.S. They are attached to North America, but they are a free nation. They have vowed to make sure that the 25% tariffs that they're going to put on America when it comes to getting power, especially for those that are close proximity to that part of the country and to Canada, when you got to pay that 25%, that 25% primarily is telling you that you're not going to be able to afford to have heat and light, heat and air. You're not going to be able to have that. The gas is going to be a problem. This is what you voted for, though. This is what you voted for. And now you want to get in the media and cry and complain that this is not what you voted for, when truly this is what you voted for. Now, everybody has to suffer because, one, that means that you're just totally misinformed and don't know how to comprehend. Because if somebody tells you, now this is what I was taught, and I know most people that look like me realize and know one thing. When somebody tell you they're going to do something, they're going to do it. He said he was going to do this. He said this. And you still did not. You still did not get it. You're still not getting it because those people that are so used to just being able to say, oh, it's about me and I've got privilege. Privilege is getting you nowhere now. It's getting you nowhere. You see, people that look like me have always gone through this one thing. We know how to survive. It ain't never been about no hard work, because if it's work, work is going to get done. Work is going to get done. You see, just the privilege is not going to be there. We've never had privilege. So see, this is your fight. This is your fight. And so just as a continuation on to this, you had the Latino vote that voted for Donald Trump. And again, I'm trying to understand what part of we're shutting down the borders excludes you from that. Shutting down the borders somehow, some shape, form, or fashion did not include you. Now, see, what that tells me is, one, that you don't know what you're voting for. You don't know what your interests are. Because if you knew what your interests were, then you would know not to vote for that individual. You would know better. But no, that's not what happened. You went and you voted for that. And what did they do on day one? He says on January 20th, we're deporting. We're deporting. But you see, you guys came up with this exclusionary thing of saying, oh, well, he's only going to deport the criminals. Well, so just so you understand something, all of you that are here illegally, I want you to know, they knew who you were in the beginning. They knew who you were. They know where you live. They know where you hang out. They knew all of those things. So did you honestly think that as it got worse and is continuing, that they're going to come to your school, your church, your place of work, don't care where you hang out in the streets, don't care where you go dance and socialize, they're coming to get you. But this is what you voted for. Now you guys are just killing social media, begging, screaming, and crying that mothers, grandmothers, fathers, children are just being deported. But you voted for that. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's harsh to see something like that, but this is what you voted for. And so now that it's happening, now you have got remorse. Is that what that's called? I mean, what do you call it? How many of you can actually stand up and say, I made this mistake and I voted for this guy, but that's not truly what I wanted? None of you. You're not going to do that. That would be too much like right. That would be way too much like right. You're not going to do that. Instead, what you're doing is you're sitting there and you're in a corner, balled up, just on your morals, and you're saying like, I can't believe that this is happening. I can, because he said he was going to do it. I can believe it. Just all these other things that you guys not thinking about, didn't think about, it's got me in the same boat as you. No, I'm not talking about being deported, but it's making my life miserable too. But that don't mean that we can't still continue to inform people, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that. But I'm just trying to figure out if somebody can actually send me some comments. Write me an email or something. Tell me what was your thinking, and tell me what would you do different if you would do anything different. Because the thing that I can guarantee you, that if you did anything different, you would still vote for Trump. You would still vote for Trump. And you would not vote for Kamala Harris because she's a black woman. And what that means is you can support a black woman, but you can support a white racist. Because you feel like you identify with that white racist, which means you try to identify as white. That's the way you identify. So this is how you get treated, because that's how you identify. That's sad to see as I say that. Now I know that's got to sink into the majority of you, because you got to be thinking, oh my God, I could not, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And for the whole 4 years that he's in office, if we don't get the chance to vote again, it's because of your vote. It's because of your vote. Because you know they are trying real hard to fix it to where he never comes out of office. Just right now at this point, for those of you that don't understand civics, is that they don't have the right number when it comes to voting. That's in both the House and the Senate to get that through. But he don't need anything like that anyway, because, he'll still try to declare martial law when it comes to voting in 28. Yeah, that's what he'll do. And if he creates a war and there's martial law, then he's never going to get out of office. Thank you all for voting for him. Think about all the small businesses that are struggling right now. Shutting doors. Can't pay bills. Can't expand. Because you voted for Donald Trump. They're closing agency after agency after agency. Oh, and we hadn't forgot the black men and black women that voted for Trump. You guys are just as worse. I don't know what you think that Donald Trump has for you. I don't know what makes you think that you can identify in that category when you can't. Playing gatekeeper does not give you authority, does not make you better than. So you're just like all these other misinformed folk. You run around here, you're talking about you glad. Yeah, you glad. You glad because people know who you are. That look like, we all look alike, but we know who you are. And nobody that knows who you are is willing to come 5 feet close to you. It's because nobody can trust you and will never trust you. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. So now I want you to think about it, that because you thought you were so much better than everybody else and you thinking that you're trying to send a clear message. So again, I just want you to understand, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but I know damn well that if I wanted somebody to lead this country and I continue to have an opportunity, I would have voted for Kamala Harris because not only does she look like me, but she had some policies in place, or she had something in place that still allows me to be free. Donald Trump has nothing that's going to say this is going to help me whatsoever. All of y'all run around here talking about a check. Y'all talking about a check. Really? A check. Well, I'll tell you like this. You know, they was talking about that $5,000 check. I hope that never comes to materialize, because if that materializes, then that's telling you that democracy is totally broken, because the economy will never be able to sustain each and every individual here in this country getting a $5,000 check. No, they didn't just find no money. This is a heist right in front of our faces. And people still are not willing to do what's necessary to bring this down and to stop it. And the reason being is because you got this feeling, this inkling of an idea that people that look like me are benefiting from something like that. I don't know what you think that people that look like me can benefit from something that's dealing with Donald Trump, the man that wouldn't even rent to black people. What am I going to benefit from? Nothing. I'm just like everybody else. I want to live my life and be free. You want to live your life and be free, but you want to live your life and be free without black people. Without black people. I'm talking about the white people and Latinos that's doing that. That's what y'all doing. Oh, the Asians too. I ain't forgot about y'all. Y'all doing the same thing. Y'all doing the same thing. But y'all being deported just like all these other folk. Y'all been deported too. The Cubans thinking that they have this privilege. They're being deported too. Sit down there thinking that they own Miami and South Florida like it's theirs. But remember, you're an immigrant. You're an immigrant. And if you just came right across the water, what makes you think they can't send you back? You don't have no privilege here. They made you feel like that because in order for you to get over here, you had to identify as a white person. Again, misleading stats. So, anyway, to tell you all about Doge, because this is something that I really, this made me cringe more than anything. Doge is called the Department of Government Efficiency, made up. Led by Elon Musk, has been a controversial entity since its inception. While some argue it aims to streamline government operations, others believe it undermines democratic accountability and bypasses legislative oversight. There have been legal challenges against Doge, with some states arguing that it operates illegally by laying off thousands of federal workers. Additionally, concerns have been raised about the potential misuse of personal information, including banking, medical, and home addresses. Okay, so all your information is being collected. They know your bank. They know your bank account number. They know your phone number. They know your address. They know every email address you've ever used. They know all your website information, and also from the big spy camera that's up above in the sky, the satellite that's beaming down here on this earth. They're collecting all this data for each and every individual. And they're making a determination of if they like this and it stays or if it goes. Now, that's a God complex. I make the decision. Now, according to Doge is the one that's breaking up the VA. They're firing all of these federal workers. They are trying to come up with this whole new plan and system to actually take away Social Security, and those with Social Security and disabilities that rely on this form of income in order to live their lives is being misused under scrutiny, and is causing people all kind of heartaches and discontent because people don't know if they're going to receive their benefits. Is this right? No. Do they care? No. Did people actually vote for this not thinking about what was actually going to happen? Yes, they did. They did. I respect you for voting for how you vote. Hey, that's your vote. You're entitled to that. I'm not telling you that you should not do what you did. I just clearly wanted to show you what you did because you were thinking that you were so special that you were going to get a special benefit. And you're getting a special benefit, all right. You get a special benefit that's actually pushing you all the way to the bottom. All the way to the bottom. And why are so many people so disgruntled and so in disdain when it comes to people that look like me? What have I done and you don't even know me? What have I done to you that's caused your life any kind of harm? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. This is all hatred. This is all hatred. And so what it clearly shows me is that rather than to be on the same equal playing field as me, where we both have to compete, and we have to do that fairly if we compete. But rather than compete with me, you'd rather burn this country to the ground. You'd rather burn this country to the ground than to do the right thing. And I tell you, that's why when you look at what's happening now with a lot of these folk, especially the ones in politics, that's karma that's coming back. And it's getting each and every last one of them because they're falling like flies. That's karma. You can't continue to try to mistreat a group of people and then think that that's going to be okay. That is not okay. That is not okay. Especially if people that haven't done anything to you and you don't even know them, but you want to make life a living hell for them, when now it's not just making life a living hell for folk that don't look like you. You're included in that too. And see, this is where reality jumps in. This is where reality jumps in. But I just want to know, I mean, like, in this whole thing, how many of you can actually go and look at your neighbor or somebody you know, and you can sit there and have a real serious, legitimate conversation with them as to what's happening right now today in America and why you think this is happening, and it's a rational conversation. Not many of you, because many of you that do gather and congregate have the same